Well, we are back again for what are we on now? We're on 6. I've managed to keep it going for 6 weeks without fail. So that's pretty good for me because most of these streams, at least these types of live streams, it's been hard for me to you always end up having a couple of weeks off or something like that. But I've been trying to keep it going. Right, I can get rid of that. So yeah, we're on the number 6. I don't know how it feels like longer than that. But we got it's the usual thing with all 6 of these that I've done. It's always the major focus is always Marvel, and that's there's very little else going on. It's just the failure of the Marvels. So we get a few good chuckles more out of that after the, what was it, 3.5 hour stream we done on Saturday. I don't know how it took that long. I really don't. But 3 hours and a fucking half. I think today we'll probably try and go for a quick one. But again, it's like whenever you boot up a stream, it's just like it's probably going to go on longer, isn't it? Whenever you want to keep it to a certain time limit, it's like it's going to go on a lot longer. But yeah, we'll just be, I suppose, talking about the terrible box office the Marvels has got, the cope on Twitter, and the likes of Screen Rant. They put out a nice, easy article to go over. It's just all the excuses that people are making for this film, and it's just like every excuse that has been made could be easily disproven. But that's been fun. You've had the likes of, who was it? Stephen King. He was throwing his 2 cents in, even though he's, it's very obvious. He doesn't have his hand on the pulse of of pop culture. So he's kind of out of his element. And it's just, again, it's just been a lot of people just coping over it. That it's a massive failure. So it's it's the likes of, the actors were on strike. That's what it was. That's like an easy one to refute, which we'll kind of save that. We'll save that for now. So that's kind of mostly what we'll be going over. Just the Marvels, and then, well, as the title says, there's more Marvel delays. There's something to kind of talk about with Captain America 4. But yeah, they're just Marvel are fucked. That's the conclusion I just keep coming back to. Whenever I try and figure things out, it's just, oh, well, they're fucked. They're just fucked. We've got Deadpool 3, that's been moved. Well, Deadpool 3 is now the only Marvel film coming out next year. I'm glad to hear that. Has anyone really got any hope for Deadpool 3? I'm just like, after seeing, certain people that are attached to it, I really don't know. The only thing I'm hoping it could be, what I would hope it was, is it just tears the MCU to fucking shreds. That's what I would like to see. Already seems like they're doing, multiverses in this film. So I wouldn't mind if they just, just the entire idea of a multiverse, or at least what has been done with it, just that entire idea just gets poked fun at. I think that's what I would like to see. Or just, again, just poke fun at what we've gotten out phases 4 and 5. I don't think it will. I don't imagine they would be able to do that, but you never know, really. But that would be that's kind of all you can really hope for. Maybe they do go the route of, it's fucking, Deadpool kills the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Maybe just do that. So there's a lot of things you could hope for it, but it's probably going to be fucking terrible, isn't it? Let's not kid ourselves. But all we can hope for is that it's at the very least, it's funny. But I don't know. Really got no hope for it at all. But that's the only one coming out next year. So that gives us a bit of a break, although not on the TV side of things, because we got Echo. We got Echo in January. They're dropping all that on the same day to get rid of it. So we'll probably be doing breakdowns for that, and I'll be working on scripts for it and all that. But yeah, that's going to be fucking terrible as well. I can't think of the other shows that are coming out because there's at least a couple of them, a couple of them that still don't have a release date, and I believe that's Ironheart and the Agatha series. I can't think of what else is coming out next year in terms of its TV. So we may get a bit of a break next year, which I'm quite looking forward to. But with Deadpool 3, they were desperate for that to come out in May. I believe they only like just maybe a couple of days ago delayed it to now July, but they were they were they were desperate to get that out then. It's like you got no chance. But I suppose we'll get into it anyway. We'll get into some of the Marvel's box office and stuff like that, and then let's just sort of work our way through that. And then we'll go over to the sort of delay side of things, and then that's kind of all we've got. I haven't got much else going on other than just, Marvel are fucked. That's really about it. So we might as well dive into it. So why is that always cut off? Every time you can never zoom on these fucking shit websites. It starts cutting away, a certain side of it. But as you can see there, box office, the Marvel's misfires with 47 million, lowest MCU opening weekend of all time. Remember we predicted this. Remember we said, yeah, it's going to flop. It's a definite flop. I mean that 47 million, by the way, went down to 46 million. So it's actually it went down. But look at that for its opening weekend. 108 million. I don't see it going. I don't see it going over 300. There's no way. There's no. The word of mouth is already terrible, and that's really what these Marvel films now rely on. It's the word of mouth aspect. As soon as it's it's going about how terrible it is, no one's going to bother. So you can imagine what the drop off is going to be from this week to this Friday coming. Be a massive drop, I would imagine. But I really don't know what they expected. And the films are a mess, an absolute mess. You can clearly see what's been cut out, what's been reshot. It's very obvious. Just again, we see it constantly, and that's kind of what's going on with the Captain America 4 at the moment. That film's done. It's now going through 5 months of reshoots. It's like, well, that's going to be the same fucking mess that we've seen with this. Because these top companies like Disney can't get their fucking shit together. I don't know why they make it so hard for themselves. Why they spend all this money when it's like, you don't have to spend that money. You don't have to do that. You just have to make sure you got a good script on your hands and take it from there, and you won't have to do all these reshoots. I mean, 5 months of the reshoots on a film that's already done. Again, it's like, should I run Disney or something? That's how it comes across. You got these guys running these places that have spent their entire careers working in that sort of entertainment industry, and how incompetent they are. Like every time, I'm just amazed. I'm just sitting there watching it, like, how the fuck? How have you managed this? So it's not going to do good in the box office. We've already went over that the budget for this. I don't know if it tells us in here. Maybe it should. Yeah. So that's the production budget. At least they say it may be way past that. 274 million. I mean, you just look at the film that we got out of the Marvels. 274 million. That's how much money it cost to make this, and it's amazing how bad it is. So you kind of calculate on maybe what would we usually add on for the promotional budget? Round about 200 million. So it's essentially 500 million. That's what it needs to make any money back. To just make their money back. And even that's not going to be enough, because then the theatre's taking their share. So even that's not going to be enough. So it's like, again, we're dealing with a film that has to make $1 billion to even be in some way called a success. And there's no way that's happening. So the film's already a flop. You know, it's been out one weekend, it's already flopped. It's already over. Everybody might as well go home. Because it's, you know, we all know it's not going to have legs. It's just not. But yeah, that's just more of Marvel's incompetence, I suppose. And it's kind of weird how some of these articles frame it. You know, they frame Marvel's, oh, it's a rare failure. It's like, no, it isn't. It's like we've had countless other ones. Just a long line of them. The only recent one, you know, Guardians 3. And even that, based on, you know, how much it cost, it's like, it's not really a success, is it? You know, it got, what, 850 million. Based on the budget and all that it had, it's like, yeah, it's not really good, is it? It's not good enough. Still not good enough. And then you sort of, you know, go back on that, you know, you look at Quantumania, that was a flop. You go back to sort of the start of Phase 4, Black Widow, it's like, yeah, you can make the argument it came out on streaming at the same time, it was during you know, you can make all these arguments. But still, it's like, it's still a flop. That's still what it is. Doesn't really matter if it came out in that time. And it's like, we've already got examples of films coming out on streaming at the same time and doing really well in theaters. So it's like, that argument's just fucking bullshit. It really is. I mean, even the whole COVID thing, it's like No Way Home came out, made $1 billion. Or what was it, $1.5 billion. So it's like, none of these arguments really stack up. So it's just been kind of one failure after another. And even if you want to sort of, you know, do, you know, the sort of what it earns doesn't really matter, because they've all been shit. Like, each project has been written so poorly. It's just baffling. It's like, yeah, we've had No Way Home. Again, it's nowhere near a perfect movie. But at least it's got characters you give a shit about. They actually try and do character work. We didn't see that in the Marvels. There was no characters in there, aside from just people making incompetent decisions, stupid villains with stupid plans. I mean, they ripped off Spaceballs. It's like, what? So it's essentially, you know, the Marvels it's a parody of a parody. That's where we're at with the MCU. But yeah, there's no such thing as, oh, it's it's not rare. It's like, it's been failing. It's been failing for like 3 years. That's how long it's been failing. And now they're like, oh, in a rare MCU fail. It's like, no, it's not. Because like, even with the first line here, Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe is no longer a bulletproof box office franchise. It's, yeah, we already knew that. We knew that years ago now. You know, they say that much is clear after the Marvels misfired with not 47, but 46 million in its opening weekend to land the worst debut in MCU history. That really is, but it's like, we all fucking knew this was going to happen. It was so obvious. It's like, you have this, you know, you have the Marvels, you have all the, like, you have characters there, you know, nobody gives a fuck about Captain Marvel. Nobody remembers the Captain Marvel film. That's the reason why at the very start of the film, we get flashbacks to the first film. Because Marvel are well aware nobody cares about that film and nobody remembers it. So you've got that to start with. Then you've got Monica Rambeau that was in WandaVision. No one watched it. In comparison to how many people were watching the films, nobody watched WandaVision. So you bring that character in, it's like, people are like, you know, I don't know who that is. Then you've got Ms. Marvel, again, another show that nobody watched, no interest in. And of course, the obvious argument is, oh, well, what about Guardians? You know, Guardians 1. Nobody knew those characters. People seem to leave out the fact that, you know, back then, Marvel could release anything. And it was, you know, garner interest. And in the Guardians case, it paid off. That's the reason why that turned out sort of in the box office as well as it did. Whereas at this point in Marvel, they can't afford to release films like this with characters nobody knows or nobody cares about, when people are so checked out already. So they can't really afford to do this. They need sure things. They need fucking, they need characters that we all know. Even if you're, basically characters that we all know that are, we don't read comic books. There's most people don't read comic books, and we can all pinpoint, the sort of characters. We all know characters, even if we haven't read the comics. So that's really where they need to go. This just wasn't going to work out. It was just a film that it was really pointless. Pointless doing reshoots for anything like that. It's one of those ones that should have just been pretty much scrapped. No point for it. No need of it. And it's just done more damage. And that is what we're going to see with all these delays coming up. Once they eventually come out, again, they're just going to cause more damage because they're all going to be fucking shit. It's just going to be shit one after shit one. So maybe you'll be in luck with Deadpool 3. That will probably do well. How well, I don't know. And that's mainly because it's got Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, it's got Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. It's like, those are characters people know and are interested in. So that may do pretty well. After that, it's back downhill again. Because we're running into Captain America 4, Thunderbolts, a load of characters fucking who cares about. And then you've got Blade, which based on how that's been going, I'm not really expecting anything good out of it. Maybe Blade will garner a bit more interest than the other two. But again, it's just like you've got nothing really coming that is gonna course correct. The only way to course correct is scrap the fucking lot of it and just restart. Hire talented people. That's what they need to do. But they just do not seem to want to do it. But that's kind of what we're looking at with the box office for this Fart in the Wind. That's what it was, but it was expected. But yeah, so at the moment, 108 million worldwide. It's not. I doubt it will even hit 300 million, to be honest. Maybe 250, 270. Maybe that's as far as it goes. Because it's not gonna, over the opening, over the, this weekend coming, it's not gonna, hit 100 million. It's not gonna. I reckon in between 250, 270. That's round about where it ends. So just not good enough. Not good enough at all. So of course, for whatever reason, we've had massive amounts of cope because of this historic flop. A lot of the people sort of, coming out making excuses for it. Most of them seem like people that haven't actually seen it. That's how it comes across to me. But this was an article that I thought, it kind of puts all the sort of arguments we've seen into one article. So I thank Screen Rant for that. They're just, none of them are good arguments. That's the main problem. But they put this out saying 12 biggest factors in the Marvel's historic box office disaster. And one thing you will notice going through this is that there is a desperation to avoid the obvious reason for it. That being A, it's a fucking terrible film. B, it's like Marvel, nobody cares about Marvel anymore, like they used to 3 or 4 years ago. There seems to be an aversion to just pointing that out. I mean, they even start off with like 2 points that are basically the same. So I'm like, fuck me, you are running out of arguments already. But let's go through this anyway. It gets us through the sort of arguments being put forward for its, utter failure. But they say the Marvels made history over the weekend as several factors contributed to what can only be described as a box office disaster. That kills them to say that, doesn't it? The third cinematic release from Marvel in 2023, the Marvels was no doubt aiming to replicate, at least in some small way, the incredible success of Captain Marvel's first solo outing, which, as we know, the only reason it hit $1 billion because it was at a time of Marvel's peak interest, and it was sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame. That is the only reason why. You release that the day, it's not going there. Instead, the Marvels has broken a record that was set by the Incredible Hulk in 2000. It's like, I believe it must have been round about when She-Hulk came out. I rewatched 2008 Incredible Hulk. You know, it's fine. It's like nowhere near how bad the Marvels is. By experiencing the worst opening weekend in MCU history. The Marvels was a solid return to form for the MCU, was it? I don't believe it was. With audience reactions helping to prove that it is miles away from being... Well, it's not miles away. You know, that's the continuous problem, especially with reviewing these shit films. It is like every film seems to, you know, that's one of the worst. You know, you kind of start off with a lot of them. It's like, yeah, that's one of the worst ones. The next one comes out, fuck me, that's one of the worst ones. So we're already at a point where it's so hard to decide on what the worst one is. You know, for me, it's easy because it's Multiverse of Madness, because that does the most fucking damage. And it's just, you know, every single scene in that film, you've got about 12 issues. So that's I would say objectively the worst one. You know, everyone kind of has their picks. The fact is, they've all just been the worst. That's kind of where we are. So it's not miles away from being the worst MCU movie. It's in the top 5. You know, I would have to say. With that being said, the movie's incredibly disappointing 46 million domestic opening weekend compared to the Incredible Hulk's 55 million in 2008 is clearly a problem. The truth is that the reasons for the Marvels' financial failure are a myriad and only help to cement the notion that the MCU is in crisis. Yeah, we said this 3 years ago. This was all stated 3 years ago. We were all told we were wrong. So the first one they bring up is the film actors strike prevented the stars from promoting the Marvels. So this one can get blown out of the water straight away because we have an example at the moment. Five Nights at Freddy's did not have, like, the cast was not able to promote it. The actors were not able to promote it. It was released on streaming at the same time. It made $250 million at this point. So already it doesn't matter. It's like the idea that, like, I've never once went to watch a Marvel's film because I seen an actor doing an interview. It was like, it's fucking Marvel. Most people know, maybe not now, because nobody's paying any interest. But it's like, you don't need actors to showcase that a Marvel film is coming out. It's like it was one of the biggest franchises in the world. People were well aware when everything was coming out. They did not need promotional stuff from the actors. So I think already this argument that seems to be the main argument going about is just, you know, it doesn't really hold up to scrutiny. It's just like the idea that, oh no, what it needed was Brie Larson to go out and promote it. No, I don't see it with that one. I don't see it at all. But again, it's like a lot of these arguments, you can just point at Five Nights at Freddy's. You know, I don't think it was a good film, but there was interest there. A lot more interest than what we had with the Marvels. And that's because of the track record of Marvel now after 3 years. You know, they just can't seem to accept that if you pump out trash over and over and over, eventually people just leave. That is just what's going to happen. So they say, oh, the actors have great chemistry that carry the film. Do they? The star power of Brie Larson, calm down. And Samuel L. Jackson alone was an exceptionally useful tool that was woefully yet unavoidably underutilized. Again, I just think the idea that for Marvel, they need actors to promote it for it to generate any... I don't think there was any interest anyway. So it wouldn't have mattered if you had the actors going out doing interviews and things like that. Nobody would pay attention. But that's just, you know, part of the cope. Is, the actors didn't get to promote it. Neither did the actors on Five Nights at Freddy's. That's already the argument done. And then, yeah, for some reason, they make the exact same point. They say the Marvel's press tour was weakened by no actors. It's like, yeah, you just made that point. You just literally made that point. Let's see if they actually say anything that separates it from that point. In addition to the stars of the Marvels being unable to lend their collective voices to the marketing drive for the movie, the press tour, which still went ahead at the height of the actors' strike, was conspicuously devoid of the movie's main stars. So, same point. Basically the same point. You made the same point twice. They say early reviews were largely negative, and you remember that the reviews came out, what was it, the day before? So it wasn't really early, was it? Probably would have done it more damage if they did come out at the very beginning of the week. But that's, it's like, that's obvious. Like, some people, for whatever reason, do pay attention to, Rotten Tomatoes. And generally, as we've sort of seen, if there is some sort of, negative slant on it, yeah, it's really not going to go well. It's like we've seen this with, like, Indiana Jones 5. That was kind of worse off because the reviews came out for it, about a week and a half before it came out? 2 weeks? Because they shown it at at some festival. I can't remember what it was. Sundance Festival, one of those. So that's part of it. But it's like this film was going to fail, regardless of anything. Reviews criticised the Marvel's lackluster villain and messy plot. One of the most crucial moments for a film's success is the state of the early picture painted by critics. For the Marvels, that picture was not pretty. I would say it was quite mixed. That's kind of what I've seen based on some of the reviews. Early reviews took a largely negative view of the Marvels, citing a messy script, more than messy, it's fucking atrocious, and an uninspiring villain. Villain that steals the atmosphere and steals the ocean. Goes out of her way to get stopped by Captain Marvel because she decides, right, I need these resources, so I'm going to target the ones that have some connection to Captain Marvel. So then she finds out about it. She realizes I'm targeting places that have some connection to her. So that means Captain Marvel is then going to come and stop me. My plan is going to fail. That's the kind of villain that we were dealing with. A fucking retard. An absolute retard. It's not uninspiring, just fucking terrible. Really terrible. Despite this, according to review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, audience saw things decidedly different from the critics. Yeah, what was it, 85% by the audience? I'll probably try and pull that up at some point and we can have a look at those. I have seen some of them, it's like, oh, this was awesome. And that's all they say, 5 stars. Definitely not bots. Making the Marvels one of the latest movies to demonstrate the gulf that has arisen multiple times between audiences and critics, and we only point out if it suits us. I mean, we've talked about this before, the sort of between the audiences and critics. I've come to the conclusion that most of the time the audiences and critics are wrong. That's generally what you see. I mean, again, it's just Rotten Tomatoes, just a terrible way to determine a film's quality. Just the way that it actually operates. The MCU has been hemorrhaging audiences since Endgame. That was, Endgame is not very good. It's an end to it. Most people, well, I've heard some people say sort of once Endgame was, they were sort of done with it. They were like, right, it's been a good few years, 10 years, so we can probably move on now. I think part of it was the assumption that, right, we're gonna, Marvel's gonna have a bit of a break. That didn't quite pan out. The finality of Endgame has encouraged casual audiences to lose interest in the MCU. And again, it's just an avoidance to just say that, oh, the audience lost interest after phases 4 and now in the 5. It's just been this, long, continuous line of terrible films, and that's what's made people lose interest. But the Screen Rant won't say that. They just can't bring themselves to say it. So they have to go, oh, it was Endgame that did it. Ever since the MCU brought the decade-spanning Infinity Saga to an end, it began to lose the interest of its audience. Not as much as Phase 4 caused the audience to lose interest. Nowhere near that. You know, I'm willing to concede that some people thought, well, yeah, you know, it's been a good run, but I'm probably done there. You know, I've definitely heard that sort of viewpoint from some people. Not helped by the fact that the MCU still lingers on its unfathomably successful first saga in recent releases, nor the fact that reports suggest Marvel is considering bringing characters back whose stories reach the satisfying conclusion. The zeitgeist surrounding the multiverse saga is comparatively... Yeah, that's because the multiverse is fucking a terrible idea. You know, I'm kind of at that point now where I don't want to see the multiverse in any fucking movie. I'm just not interested because it's always just it just makes no sense. I'm just, you know, even with the Marvels, you start hearing things like the reality is bleeding into ours. I'm just like, oh, fuck off. It's like, you know, it's definitely something they use to go, oh look, this is interesting. It's a different universe. But yeah, just nobody's got. I mean, it's very apparent that nobody's interested in a multiverse saga. It's like they've already fucked it up anyway. None of it makes any sense. There's just no interest. You've had South Park making fun of you and your multiverses. That really is a sign that, yeah, nobody's interested in multiverses because it's boring. It's just boring. I'm quite happy for like the multiverse idea to be in just some standalone film. You know, whether it is everywhere, you know, all at once. If it's something like that, I'm pretty much fine with it. But with stuff like this, just where everything's about the multiverse, I'm fucking checked out completely. You know, generally it's just going to come down to if you have something that's, I guess, an original idea for sort of how it operates. But they've just made everything about the multiverse. And the thing is, it's like we've spent like phase 4 and now 5 that was supposedly leading into the multiverse, you know, multiverses. I mean, what projects have we really had that are about multiverses, aside from Loki and Multiverse of Madness? Those are the main ones that the projects have been about the multiverse. Every other film has been, oh, at the post-credit scene, X-Men appear. Multiverse saga, everybody. Just a 2-minute scene at the end of the film. So that's really what it's not the multiverse saga. They've done nothing with it. It's just the odd, like they just go, oh look, there's another universe over there, you know, in a 2-minute scene. That's about as far as they've went. The Marvel's failure to pull in more audiences than the Incredible Hulk on opening weekend is an illustration of just how dire the situation has become. The next one is the MCU has suffered from drama and bad press. Jonathan Majors. I don't think the MCU has suffered because of Jonathan Majors, or sort of what, you know. I guess you had the what do you call it? I guess you had Scarlett Johansson. You had that sort of trial that was going on. The only other thing is Jonathan Majors. I'm like, I don't think that has hurt the Marvels. I don't think it has at all. They go on about the Loki Season 2 finale may have overshadowed the Marvels. No, I wouldn't say Loki Season 2. I haven't really heard anyone fucking talk about it. I've heard things, and it's definitely put me off of even bothering to review it. Apparently, Loki becomes the Time Stone. Whatever that means. So, yeah, I don't buy this, that the Loki Season 2 finale... it's on Disney Plus. This was in theaters. I don't see how that overshadows it unless it has record-breaking viewers, which they've tried to say it's 11 million people watched the final episode of Loki Season 2. You know, I don't know. I don't know if how true that is. But even then, it's like that doesn't really stack up with, that doesn't really overshadow anything. I haven't seen anyone talk about this Season 2 finale. So I don't really buy that bit. They, of course, bring up the usual one. Internet backlash to female and POC-led Marvel movies. No. I haven't seen that. I just think the film's fucking terrible. absolutely terrible, and no one's interested. I mean, that kind of anything like this takes a fucking backseat to how bad the fucking script is. But so yeah, I don't really see that. You know, I guess some people have turned off because of certain, you know, they've tried to bring in certain political elements to make points about things rather than it just being a Marvel film. So that's definitely put some people off. But I just think the terrible scripts are more of they're the issue. The issue more than anything else. I guess this only really plays into it if the focus goes on to that side of things. If it's more important to have a diverse cast than it is just have a good script, then that's a big problem. It's going to end up putting people off because you've then created a terrible fucking film. Because the focus hasn't been where it should be. But let's see what they say on that one. They say, it is an unfortunate fact that certain netizens are still averse to female and POC-led movies, even though we've had them for decades. You know, essentially, they're just trying to go the way, you don't like it because you're racist or you're sexist. We just need to avoid calling it a terrible movie. That's what we need to desperately avoid. The Marvels is a great example of MCU representation. I mean, you take Captain Marvel. Is she a great representation for women, is she? She went in somewhere without thinking, fucking destroyed this planet, caused a civil war, somehow made the sun die. Don't know how that works, but that's because of Captain Marvel, because she's a fucking idiot. She just went, I'm just going to destroy this thing. I'm not going to think about the consequences, even though I've lived on this planet, so I know how it operates. Is that good representation for women, is it? Or what about Monica Rambeau saying to Wanda in WandaVision, oh, they never know what you sacrifice, and then Wanda goes on to fucking kill loads of people. Are these good representations for women? No. So I don't know how you could say it's a great example. It's not. It's just not. I mean, well, we'll go over some other stuff, like sort of after. There's a few tweets I've got there. But, well, again, the thing they need to remember at Marvel is the majority of your audience are men. That's just what it is. You're not going to pull in numbers like Barbie did. The reason why Barbie was so successful, because it was a movie specifically for women. That is what women are interested in, not fucking superheroes. That is just more, you know, it's more of an interest from men. That's just a fact. You can't change it. That's just what it is. But that's basically what they've tried to do. You know, whether it be with Captain Marvel or the Marvels, it's, well, you know, just a lot of projects. The past few years, they've been trying to aim it at women. Women haven't been showing up. So I don't know when they're gonna sort of get that. But that's just sort of what they're trying to do. You know, we're already having, you know, men are already being blamed for this film failing, just like where women didn't show up. So I don't really know how you know, I don't want to cause, you know, a war among the sexes, but women didn't show up because women aren't interested. That's just what it is. You know, I'm not saying there's none, but the majority of people are just men. A cursory glance at the comment section of most of the movie's marketing material is a harrowing reminder that distaste for such a state of affairs is still very much alive. But again, it's more for, it's not simply because, oh, it's got a woman in it, or it's got a, no, it's simply because they are written like shit. They are not well written characters. Captain Marvel is proof of that. There's, you know, again, you can just go back to, you know, everybody loved Black Widow until her solo film. But, you know, characters like that, they were fan favorites. So just this argument does not hold up. Captain Marvel was one of the most notorious victims of review bombing. You know, again, it's always funny how review bombing, they say review bombing about a bad film. It's like, well, of course it's going to be review bombed, because it's not very good. So it's going to get negative reviews. I'm still waiting to see a review bombing of something that's good. I haven't seen it yet. It's always been bad stuff. The other thing that they go, casual fans may not know Ms. Marvel and Monica Rambeau. Yeah, they don't. That was one of my reasons for why it wasn't going to do well, is because of that. Again, if this was released many years ago, it'd probably do pretty well, because it didn't really matter then. Yeah, the MCU was at its peak. So that's a definite reason for it. It's just, at this point, when you're so dead, you need heavy hitters. The Marvels has the MCU's first musical sequence. I don't really think that would go towards it failing, because you would have to see it first to really, see it in a negative way. I mean, you could have something like this work. They didn't execute it well. It was cringe. So I think most people didn't even know there was a musical sequence in it. The only people that did are the people that pay attention to this. I've got the dog barking down the stairs again, fucking every time. Disney spoiled the Marvel's big X-Men reveal in its final trailer. I mean, they had no other options. They tried in that final trailer. They tried to connect it to Thanos. They made it seem like Dar-Ben was going to continue Thanos' work. Had nothing to do with Thanos. Don't know why he was in the trailer. Don't know why Tony Stark was in the trailer, or Captain America. Oh no, it was to Jangle Keys. It was we're desperate. It was desperation. So that's why they even had the for some reason they decided to have the villain's death in the trailer. I don't know why. But yeah, the X-Men thing, that was what other options did they have? So what other ones do they have? The Marvel doesn't have any larger connection to the MCU multiverse saga. As we've already said, that's most of them. Most of them, there's a 2-minute post-credit scene in a different universe. That's what the multiverse saga is. We've only done anything with the multiverse in Doctor Strange 2 and Loki. That's the only time it's actually been the focus. Other times it's just, there's a little bit there. I guess Quantumania, that sort of is in a different universe. It's still in the main universe. It's just, I don't know, it's a bit lower down. But I don't think that really matters, really, if it's not fully about the multiverse saga. I don't really think that matters anyway. Superhero fatigue is impacting Marvel and DC movies. And it's not because there's too much content, it's because there's too much shit content. I think that's all we really need to say on that, because it's just that's what it is. It's fatigue of bad movies. If they had released all these projects that they have released and they were all good, there wouldn't be superhero fatigue. It's because they're shit. Some people just can't seem to put their finger on it. So that seems to be the majority of the sort of reasons for why this utterly failed, and is at this point a confirmed flop. But yeah, some of the reasons they come up with, it had women in it. That's why it failed. Because the Marvel's audience just hate women. But yeah, it's just an avoidance just to admit the obvious. That people have lost interest because they've been bashed over the head with terrible, terrible films for many years. That's the reason why. So to have a film like the Marvels now, with characters nobody cares about, yeah, that's not going to pay off. It's just not. But that's the kind of, again, the main narrative is, the stars didn't get to promote it. Just absolute trash. It really is. But at least this makes it kind of easy to do a video on, because they've got all the arguments in one place. Because I do want to go over the sort of box office stuff in a video at some point. But yeah, it really is. It's just over. That's all it is. It's Marvel is fucked, fully fucked. But yeah, I suppose we'll look at these, because there's been some other arguments and stuff like that coming up. You know, again, it's just been, there are numerous reasons why many might dislike these movies, yet they're objectively terrible. And I am not saying they are perfect, but looking at them, there seems to be an undeniable pattern. Well, generally that comes from, there's been a major push to have, you know, especially superhero movies more focused on women. And each one that they've done has been terrible. You know, that's what the pattern is. And it's like, I don't even know how they can make these arguments that, oh, I could put Thor: Love and Thunder there, Multiverse of Madness, and many others. Is there an undeniable pattern there? That, oh, maybe the audience don't like men. You know, again, so it's like, arguments like this don't hold up either. It's like there's clearly been more, you know, male-led films that are fucking terrible as well throughout, you know, phase 4 and 5. So that's another one that gets put out there. You always get these tweets around about, you know, when a film like this comes out, they can't see it. They can't see what the problem is. And I really think people like this come across to me like they haven't actually watched the films that they're talking about. You know, if they have, they must have very low standards. You then have sort of other things, you know, Stephen King getting into it. Or as soon as I seen Stephen King pop up on this conversation, I'm like, yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. There's no way he understands anything that's going on. He even says himself at some point, yeah, I don't go to MCU movies. Right, so your take on it is absolutely pointless. But he goes the route of some of the rejection of the Marvels, maybe adolescent fanboy hate, you know, yuck girls. Even though everybody loved Black Widow. You know, not in a solo film. I have to always repeat that. But she was definitely one of my favourite characters throughout, you know, the Infinity Saga sort of stuff. You know, definitely up there, top 5. So, I don't believe it's that. Again, comics have been about for many, many years. Loads of comics that were about a female hero. You know, I don't think people were like, yuck, girls. But that's one of his takes. His other one was, I don't go to MCU movies, don't care for them, but I find this barely masked gloating over the low box office for the Marvels very unpleasant. Why gloat over failure? So that is like another question I'd like to answer. You know, why would we gloat over something failing? You know, why would we want something to fail? You know, my reason is I want bad movies to fail, so we don't get any more of them. I want good movies to succeed. You know, it's very simple. I don't know why. You know, it's just after years of this fucking dog shit coming out. Why would you think people wouldn't have this sort of reaction to it when it fails? You know, I don't know why we want it to succeed. It's just like, if it's a shit film, I want it to fail. If I seen the Marvels when I watched it last week and realised, oh, this is actually good, then I go, yeah, that should be something that deserves to succeed. But it isn't that. So why would I want it to? Why would I not want it to fail? If it fails, that sends a message of, yeah, this isn't working out. Let's change things. So that's very simple. I don't think and I think that's mostly it for the sort of Marvel stuff. I think we've kind of covered everything as good as we needed to. I think the only thing I was going to talk about, you know, we've kind of already fucking talked about it at this point. Just about the delays, but like everything has essentially been moved back. We're probably not going to be going much longer, so we won't spend too much time on this. But we've had, you know, I suppose it's just going over when these films have been pushed back to. So you've got Deadpool 3, and that's now going into the slot of where Captain America Brave New World, fucking terrible title, where Captain America Brave New World, that's now been pushed to February 2025. You've got Thunderbolts, that's moved to July 2025. And then you've got Blade that is now to November 2025. So it's just really, you know, these will probably get pushed back even further. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, you've got Captain America 4 here, which apparently is going to get extensive reshoots after negative test scores. To remind you, this film is finished. They finished filming it. They've been testing it. The negative test scores have come back because, of course, they can. They have. It's a current Marvel production, and they've got 3 major sequences that will be cut, with reshoots apparently happening from January to May. So it's like 5 months of reshoots on a film that you've finished. It's like, again, we keep hearing this shit about, oh, Marvel are figuring things out. It's like, no, they're not. They're not. They keep making the same mistakes because they're in such a rush to get everything out. So they just keep making these same typical mistakes. It's like, it's just, again, it just shows me, nothing's going to change. Again, each one of these streams we've done, I've had to keep saying that the reason they won't course correct is because they don't have an option to. They fuck themselves in the ass by deciding, what we're going to do is we're going to make 20 projects all at the one time. That's where they went wrong, rather than taking it one at a time. You know, we've got that one, what we believe is, you know, we've got that as good as we can get it. Right, let's start moving on to the next project, and then, you know, do it that way. So you don't have this problem where you want to course correct that you can't until you get these movies out, till you get these TV shows out. So it's really, again, that's why I'm just like, yeah, it's over. There's nothing they can do that will change anything. We're just going to continue to see the decline of any interest. You know, as I say, I think Deadpool 3, that's probably going to get a boost above the other ones. That may do decent at the box office. I'm not sure how much, but that's just because it's to do with, you know, people generally like the Deadpool films. People like Ryan Reynolds. People like Hugh Jackman. People like Wolverine. So it's like, it's got all the things there that is gonna have some interest. You know, unless it turns out to be not very good. You know, maybe the word of mouth would kill it. So you got that. Then you're back to, I mean, where do they put these things? So yeah, you got Deadpool 3 there, and then not another project until 2025. And that's Captain America, Brave New World. Based on it getting 5 months of reshoots, it's going to be a mess like all the others. You've then got, you know, Thunderbolts that is out 2025 as well. It's just like, no, and it's got characters in there that nobody cares about. You know, it's got that guy from Black Widow. I don't even know his name. And then Blade. I suppose that's the only other one where it's like that. Again, that might get a boost just because it's Blade. But based on how it's gone back and forth with what it's trying to do, you know, going through 5 writers and 3 directors, however many it is, it signals it's going to be a mess. So I don't expect anything out there. How's it going, Devontae? So yeah, they really are just, you know, they're not going to have a chance to change, to course correct, and I'm fine with that at this point. I'm fine if they don't. I'm quite happy to move on to other things. But yeah, that kind of gets us through everything, I think. Yeah, you know, I didn't want to spend too long anyway the day. But that was mainly because all we had to talk about was the Marvels. But yeah, we will probably wrap up there anyway. But I'm kind of glad the Marvels came out when it did, because I had a good couple of palate cleansers. You know, I watched the Marvels on Thursday, Friday. Friday night, I then watched David Fincher's The Killer that was on Netflix. That was pretty good. You know, I'm trying to think of what I can kind of say about that film. It's kind of one of those films that I want to watch again to really sort of figure out what my overall viewpoint on it is. But it's definitely an interesting one, worth watching. And then on Sunday, I finally got to see Oppenheimer. That film was definitely worth waiting to watch. Yeah, I watched that Sunday. That's fucking really good. That's definitely a film that I got that after I watched it, I'm like, yeah, I'd watch that again. You know, they done a lot of good stuff in it. Yeah, no, if you want to watch the game stream, I'll try and pull it up just so you can see where it is. Yeah, no, it's just on here. Why is that coming up? Hold on, I've got to let me go over here. Let me grab. Is it that one? No, not that one. Oh, I can't even pull it up. Yeah, no, it's just, see if you just go scroll down here. It's right here. So it's on the home page. At the well, pretty much at the bottom. So it's just all in. Because I just unlist them anyway and just put them into a playlist. And that's all the stuff there. So I've kind of tried to make it easy to find. So yeah, you'll find all the. I've still got RoboCop to finish. I've still got Arkham City that I need to finish as well. Well, the main reason I haven't finished Arkham City yet is mainly just because of. Well, I had that last week. I ended up too busy to fucking stream it, and then I really wanted to play RoboCop, so I thought I'd start that. But yeah, maybe the only problem I'm having with RoboCop is I think it's because I've got a new controller. It's like the controller's like stiff, so when I'm aiming my gun, it like the target will just like fucking jolt over there. So I've got to try and fix that problem before I stream it again. But I had a bit of fun on it anyway. It was definitely fun. It was mainly just you have to do this target practice thing, and that's what was kind of fucking me over. I think I sat for like what felt like half an hour trying to get through that bit. But I'll be playing more of that at some point. At the moment, I'm just working away. I'm working away on my the Marvel script. I done a little bit last night, so I've got a I say decent start on it. You know, it's always whenever you sort of start these scripts, it's always figuring out how to start it. You know, every time, it always takes you a little bit of time to actually get into the groove of it. So I think I'd done like 600 words, and then I had to go back and fucking redo everything. That just turns out to be the easiest way to do it, because I don't want to have the whole fucking thing written and then I have to go through, you know, doing all individual parts. So that's kind of what I'm up to at the moment. Hopefully I'll have a video out tomorrow, mainly going over essentially what we've went over on this stream. But yeah, that's all that's going on. I can't think what else. Because I don't really think that I'll be breaking down any well, at least new films. I may do Summon, because there is a particular thing that I want to work on. Once I've done the Marvel, once I've got the Marvels out of the way, then there is a film that came out at the start of this year that I would like to do a video on. So I might end up doing like a breakdown for it before I start it. Yeah, I have played, well, a lot of that. How many parts did I do for? Well, yeah, I done 8 parts for Lies of P. I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming any more of it, but I am gonna fucking finish it. I'm gonna have to see, but I haven't played it for that long that I'm gonna have to restart it again. You know, I hate once you haven't finished a game. And you go back to it months later, it's like, I might as well just start again. So I don't know if I'll come back streaming more of that. But that's definitely been my favourite game of the year. And it's got fuck all nominations, which is quite annoying. Instead, it's Alan Wake 2 and Starfield. It's like games like that. Rather than, well, my sort of top picks for the year are Resident Evil 4. Yeah, the Resident Evil 4 remake and Lies of P. Yeah, with Hogwarts Legacy, I got bored of that in the end. My main criticism of that was, you know, you can't do the final mission until you get enough XP. So you got to go around doing these shitty little side missions that are fucking boring. That's kind of what's put me off Assassin's Creed at this point. Because I get bored of games where they don't just have, like, say, 6 side missions that are, you know, at least lengthy. Instead, they go, have 300 side missions that are, you know, it's just fetch quests. So that was kind of my... There's not much to do with in Hogwarts Legacy aside from the main stuff and then little side missions that are quite boring. But I quite like the main story. I quite like the, you know, the main stuff. It was just the side stuff. I was like, this is fucking boring. Yeah, I've gotten quite tired of games like that. I'm just like, just give me, you know, long side missions. I'm quite happy to take 5 or 6 side missions that have some length to them. I'm happy with that. But they just always feel the need to just, you know, fill it with a load of crap. But outside of that, I did enjoy Hogwarts Legacy. You know, I wouldn't mind a bit more out of it. Yeah, I've played Red Dead Redemption 2, yeah. I think I did have a full playlist of them, but I deleted the playlist. But I'll probably, yeah, I'll stream those at some point, like, fully. Because I did, like, stream it for a while. But I never actually finished it fully. Well, I've completed it about fucking 4 times. But, like, in terms of actually streaming it here. But yeah, we'll probably have time for that at some point. I've got to try and finish off these games that I've been playing. But that is a good place to end anyway. It's been good talking to you, Devontae. And I'm probably, yeah, I may be back for a video tomorrow. I'm not sure about stream-wise. But, well, we'll be back for another one of these next week. But yeah, I'll finish off there. Yeah, you have a good one too, Devontae. And I will see you on the next one.